I'll look at you and say,
Welcome to our special, our
Positively
Feminine special. And today, I think last time we talked about all the difficulties that women go through. And today I wanted to talk about like to encourage women, even if they're in certain stages of life, that they can do anything.
They
do you
can
know
do
what I
hard
mean?
things.
They can do hard things. So we're in different stages. I think what inspired me to maybe do an episode like this and talk about what stage we're in life and what we're doing in life is I saw, I think it was a TikTok, this lady, so she had just gotten divorced and it was like a really bad I know at the beginning what that feels like, and she was crying and she was talking about it, but she was also telling other women like don't make a guy or a man, even if you love him, you're married, like your whole life, like if you are divorced, it's not the end of your life, that kind of thing. I don't know. The way she said it, I was like, that's right. It's not easy. If that is something that happened in your life, it's not the end of you succeeding. So my situation, yeah, is that I went through a separation, went through a divorce, and it wasn't easy. And I want to talk about the other side of that. And your situation is that you're married and you have 4 kids and you have a baby and you went back to school. So I'll let you kind of introduce that.
Okay, yeah. So I am currently married, happily married. um, we have 4 kids. I know it's a lot. 4 is like the new 10 nowadays. It's 2 boys, 2 girls, and it's a lot. And things are expensive, very expensive. So we can't just make a normal living like things used to be simple. Now they're not. So I decided I need to go back to school and up my career. I just had a baby too, like 7 months ago, so
Yeah.
it's interesting. Luckily, I look young, so a lot of the kids there don't know how old I am, and I kind of like keep myself.
There are, I remember going to university, there are older students, right? And that's what we want to encourage our viewers, our lady viewers. And if, let's say, you do have a bunch of kids, I feel like some women will feel that, oh, I can't go back to school, or
Or you're too old. Okay, you're never too old. Go for it. Don't live with regrets. That's the biggest thing, because like you could look back at life and be like, you know what, I should have tried that.
that's kind of what I wanted this episode to be about, is what is possible. And with our specials, we also kind of talk about our lives, right? Like we don't so much on our show. For example, I mean, I do mention that I got divorced. That's something I never thought would happen to me. And I don't know, maybe that a lot of divorced people say that. They're like, well, it's not, I don't think you start a marriage thinking, well, I might one day get divorced. But especially for me, because like I'm pretty religious in a way. Okay, I use that word carefully because what I want to say is that I have faith, because that's a bit different than just like following religious rules or whatever. It was very complicated because it wasn't just like, you don't just like make a decision and that's it. You kind of go back and forth. Like it's like things aren't well in the marriage or whatever. You try to repair it, or the other person just is distant and they're just, it's like they checked out. I remember when I was separated, just how awful that felt. And I think I just want to encourage women who are going through a separation or divorce. It's like, it's not the end of your life. It's also not the beginning of your life, because it's a bad feeling to have, even if you're like, I needed to get out. It's not, I don't think it's ever good feeling, even if it was a good choice. But once you're on the other side and you're older like me, you can, well, you can go back to school, or you can just continue following your dreams. It's not easy, especially financially. Speaking of which, we set ourselves up for Buy Me a Coffee. So we're at www.buymeacoffee.com/positively literary. So you can buy us a coffee if you enjoy our show, and that would be great support. Tell me more about your decision, like to go back to school, which I think it's a hard decision, but also I do believe that a lot of women who have one or two kids or something, they're like, well, I couldn't possibly go back to full-time school, but you're doing it. So, you can encourage those women and be like, it is possible. There's always a way.
In my case, I'm lucky because my husband's very supportive, and we kind of swap positions. So he's been at home with the kids. He's actually planning on going to school too. So both
Okay.
of us in school. So we have a plan for that.
Mm.
Um, it's hard with the daycare, and I get that things are expensive. So the strategy we came up with was I would take classes on Monday and Wednesday, and he's going to take classes Tuesday, Thursday.
Oh, interesting.
So then we're swapping back and forth.
So, were you afraid
Oh.
to go back to school?
So, yeah, my background is I'm dyslexic, okay? And I have ADHD. And it's hard because things that take people like an hour to do would take me double because of my reading impairment and writing impairment. And I'm an author. How ironic.
I love that though. So you can also be encouraging to authors, women authors who have, what do you call it? Just
Dyslexia. Yeah, no, because reading and writing, it's my weakness, but I am so passionate about it. And, through this journey, I've been making it into my strength, even though it's my weakness. It takes me longer than normal authors, that's for
I
sure.
love that.
But I love doing it. I really do have a love for writing.
Yeah. And I like that you said strength. I'm just thinking about how, like, women are so strong. We really are. But we also have so much more that we have to do. Like, honestly, the division of labor or whatever, it's always more on women, obviously, with kids and stuff. But it's also like the unpaid labor that you do. But it's also the mental load and all this stuff that only now women are talking to each other on YouTube, on TikTok. Well,
We have more connections. We're definitely learning.
we're connected. Yeah, I want to encourage women who are in these situations. So my situation, my daughter is grown and she's in college, and so it's a different kind of challenge that you have to be strong, which is being home alone, like completely alone, especially if you're renting. I can't have pets because I'm renting, because pets they can help you with the
Exactly,
loneliness.
the coping.
So I'm a plant mom. So the plants, almost like a goldfish.
They are like a goldfish.
Yes, because they're not gonna like really respond back or like sit beside you like a goldfish wouldn't. But they grow. You see them. They're alive. They're growing.
Exactly. That's
And
beautiful.
I'll look at you and say 나를 봐봐 in my craze 조금 더 망설이지 마 Alright I don't want a best friend 너도 나와 같은 맘이야 Waiting to get there 나를 보며 웃어줘
yeah, I do love my plants. There's probably a science in there about how they thrive and are part of your life. But anyhow, so the reason I'm speaking to this because I am divorced, and it wasn't just like this would be better for me. It was devastating. It was so devastating that I would describe it that I actually was no longer alive.
Part of you.
Ended.
Yeah.
But not just like, I would say like 90% of me. So I guess what I'm saying is like I felt like I almost was no longer alive to a point and I had to be reborn. That sounds so dramatic and it sounds very kind of
But it
religious,
is.
but I truly experienced what that means of being born again as a new person, but not all of a sudden one day, but slowly like rebuilding your life in a way where it's a completely different life all of a sudden. And then just filling up my space around me with plants and new things. When I finally got my own place, I really needed to get away from the situation at one point. When I left everything. Like the garage was full of stuff that we both owned. The house was full of stuff. And in one way, I'm sure my ex was like, oh, you left me to deal with all that. I came here with like a couple boxes and was like, I left everything except my books. And so even like this couch I got on Kijiji, not Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace for I think it was $50. I just left everything behind. I was like, I don't care. I don't need anything. So I had to rebuild my life, not just things, but myself too, because at the beginning, it's like I was no longer a married person. So I was like, I'll do what everyone else does. I'll
It's
go.
like you have a new identity.
Yes, but I didn't know what it was without being married because I was married for 20 years. So I was dating. That was a mistake. So okay, let's give some advice. So if you're newly separated or divorced, there's this drive to kind of replace the person or just tell yourself that you are worthy of, like, okay, I will be able to date again and I will have someone to share my life with again. Like it seems so imperative to prove that to yourself or be the first one to date instead of the other person or something. But it's kind of a mistake. You are not in the mental space or the emotional space to be dating. And I did date and I just felt like it wasn't right for me and just the way I was living my life. And then I stopped dating and I stopped dating for 2 years, and that was the healthiest thing. It was so hard to do at first, but it was the healthiest thing I could have ever done because you take you force yourself to take away the need to be with someone and the need to date, which is so strong. It's like an addiction. And once you get to the other side of addiction, you could potentially maybe meet someone and have a lot of fun, but you don't need to. You don't need to, and it's not gripping you like in this cage or whatever of trapped, like you feel trapped, like you need someone, and then you're very desperate. So anyway, all of that to say, I don't recommend dating or jumping into a relationship. What they say is if you are done with a really long relationship like a marriage, then you jump into another relationship that is the same dynamic. It'll end up being the exact same dynamic you just came out of if you don't take the time to heal for like 2 years. It's not the end of the world. It definitely can feel like it, and it could be the end of an era kind of thing. And what one of the things we did is soon when I stopped dating and I had not been dating for like 2 years, and then we started Positively Literary, I had wanted to start a YouTube channel. Like that's something you can start looking into your creative side, which isn't easy because I'm always looking for work because you need finances. And I was doing seasonal work for over the Christmas time, and now Christmas is over, so I'm again looking for work. We're both authors and we both write, and we have published books, and that's awesome. And there's a lot of work that goes into like promoting yourself and stuff. And I'm working on my next novel, and I just want to say, like, there's so much more that your life has, and you can invest your energy into that you used to invest into your marriage, into raising kids, into like the emotional energy of dating, right? I wasted so much energy and time dating and invested into yourself and into your hopes and dreams. And you have 4 kids, and I know even when I had 1 kid, you feel like that's the only thing in your life and you can't do anything else. But you've been doing a lot. Like you're doing the show, our show. You're also now you're back in school. I know that's been a change, which you can talk about, and but you're still there for your kids. Like they love you. I love your TikToks. I don't know if you want to talk about like that you have a family TikTok.
We call ourselves the Coasting Costigans.
And it's like family. It's so cute. Like the Christmas videos with your kids, and you guys did this like where you walk around and do these like little dances. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I haven't done one since the new year because we've been so busy, but I plan on doing it again, just figuring out time. But
Oh, you're busy.
I guess the biggest thing about, being at home for so long and then suddenly going into school is
Full time.
is just like coping with missing your kids.
Okay.
So like I think about them constantly. It's hard, and also a little bit of grieving cuz like I know they're safe and I know my husband's watching them, but there'll be pictures he sends me which I appreciate, but I'm like, "Oh, they're growing so fast and they're growing a little bit where I'm not with them every waking hour like I used to be." So
So, okay, tell us about mommy guilt because some people don't pursue things because of mommy guilt. And it's not, you don't have to be 24/7 there, but the guilt that women feel.
So honestly, what I do with mommy guilt is I actually turn it around as motivation. So every day I'm at school and I'm away from them, I think I am doing this for them, for their
Yes.
future.
And they see you going to school.
Exactly. And even though it's hard and it's scary returning, especially after so many years, it's it's something that your kids can learn from through your example, that they can do hard things. I think in life we get comfortable, and when we're very comfortable, it's when things can go sour. Like, it's good to get uncomfortable, even though it feels very uncomfortable.
Because then you're not growing when you're too.
Exactly. You're not growing, and that's it. Where you don't want to look down the years before and be like, oh, I just have so much regret. Of course we'll always have some sort of regret, but at least you can say I tried. And that's actually, I was talking with your mom about this on the drive over. So we were talking about how I also have faith. And we're saying, like, when God closes a door, sometimes it's for a reason and he's opening another door. And that's what my mentality. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it my all at school. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It
And
just
you're
means
trying, you're stepping out.
Exactly. And if I know that, you know what, I tried my hardest and it didn't work, I'm okay.
And you're an inspiration. Like, and that's why I wanted to also talk online in our special about this, because I want to inspire other women. And like, I'm so proud of you for going back to school full time. Like, even when we started the show and your baby was like 2 months old, I was just so proud of you, because you came. We spent like 9 hours filming those first 2 episodes, and you had, I don't know if we'll talk about this, but you were feeding your baby.
Yes, and it hurt.
I felt so bad for you. You were in pain.
I was
And
like,
your shirt
was leaking. I was
so
leaking.
I don't know if you see, it was the Bridgerton-ish episode.
Yes, I was
You
like,
could see on the shirt. I just like,
could you see it on the film? Oh, dang.
no, but if you really look, you can. But like, whatever. I was like, oh, it's just a tea spill.
Touch you and say 나를 봐봐 in my craze 조금 더 망설이지 마 Alright I don't want a best friend
You were inspiring to me, like in a retrospective sort of way. Like, I didn't really step out or take my baby out. Like, I was so scared to just leave the home, to leave the baby, to start anything, to do anything. And like, and it wasn't easy for you, because I remember like your husband called.
I think I kept talking. I think at the beginning, that's all I talked about. was just my kids.
At the beginning of the show, we would say like, how was your week? And one of them, you're like, oh, my baby, my daughter, whatever, and you talked a really long time about them, so I actually edited it out.
I know, I don't remember.
Okay, I'm glad. I feel bad. No, it wasn't to edit. The reason was my daughter, I had her watch it, and she's like, okay, at the beginning when you guys talk about your week, it's a really long time before you get to the topic. And she's like, a lot of YouTube watchers and stuff, they might not be able to
tune out.
they tune out, but they also might not be able to relate to like having a baby and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I actually brought it down and I made it much shorter. But yes, I know you were thinking about your baby, and
I didn't even notice.
I'm like, we need like an hour content to do a half-hour show. And that's why our battery always runs out. So every time there's a show, and even now, I think we did our Valentine's episode about it.
We did
So-
2 episodes.
We did 2 episodes, but it was the camera turned off 3 times. But this time, instead of being like, sorry guys, the battery ran out, or sorry guys,
It's like, there's not enough space.
there's not enough space in the camera, we just kept going. We're just like, it seems to happen every time. But yeah, I mean, we're doing our best. And also, I want to encourage people who are doing a YouTube channel or doing any other kind of content like that to just keep going, because right now we have, I think what I figured is we have 17 devoted viewers. Thank you to the 17 devoted viewers who watch.
Rock.
So when we post, there's always 17 who watch like that day. And then later we get some more views. But it's not easy, because it's like being a mom. You put in all this time and effort, right?
Sacrifice.
And sacrifice. And you're not getting paid, and you're not really seeing, but
the
like
fruits.
the fruits, not yet. We believe, and I want to encourage other people to believe in themselves, whatever stage of life. If you have 4 kids, if you have 5 kids, you can go back to school. You can maybe do a YouTube channel. You can, be an author and pursue your dreams. It's hard, but you can do it. So, and if you're divorced and older, like me, I know that overall I look young. I am closer to 50 than I am closer to 40. And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't want to be ashamed. I don't want any women to be ashamed of their age and be like, no, I'm in my 30s. I'm not. I'm not in my 30s.
She totally looks like it, though.
And thank you. You don't have to look young. And the beauty of having an author career and some of these careers is that it's not about your face. And actually, the older you get and the older you look, the more you're kind of esteemed as an author. So I love being an author because I know even when I'm 82, that like whatever, if I have wrinkles or whatever, that is not going to take away as a woman. It's not going to take away from my author career. And we put way too much emphasis and importance into how we look. I mean, you want to look professional. And so on camera, I'll put makeup on, but I don't wear makeup every day.
Same.
You don't need to wear makeup every day. You don't need to look young or beautiful in the conventional way to be a lawyer. You don't. You just need to look professional.
So actually, yeah, like I have ran into situations where I'm treated very poorly because the person thinks I'm very young, and then when I stick up for myself, they're very shocked by it. Because usually young people are like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they kind of submit, but I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, respectfully, no. I can like stand up for myself. I do it gracefully, like I try to. I mean, I will admit I do lose my temper, but
But you can encourage women to speak up,
that's why I said it's kind of a blessing I look young because like I guess a lot of people in the university don't know I have 4 kids.
right?
So I won't say names. I had a professor. I asked a question.
And this is recent, not had like when she was, this is like, Stephanie's got 4 kids. She's an adult, okay?
I am a woman. I am not a girl.
Yes.
So, yeah, I asked a question because I have been to post-secondary before and things were different there than they are here.
It was a legitimate question. And I worked in testing services. So this is a very legitimate question.
So, yeah, I asked a question and she kind of mocked me for it and the whole class started laughing at me, but I could let it go. I was kind of like, ugh, but then she kept bringing it up like at least 2 more
Do you want to
times.
say the question or?
The question, well, no, I won't say the question
Okay.
because then it narrows it down. And if someone that
Is
I go to
watching?
school with,
Murphy's Law, she'll be
I
watching.
know, right? So, yeah. And then basically, I felt mocked and I laughed at, and especially because it kept being brought up. So, I did come to her after class in private and confronted her, told her how it made me feel, how it wasn't very professional, and how it was a legitimate question.
It was.
And that I kind of leaned in and whispered to her, I'm not as young as what you think. Because I know she mentioned she had a child. And I said, yeah, I also have children. And then her eyes kind of widened and she was like, oh, because then she realized like she wasn't dealing with a young kid that I think she kind of thought I was.
So that's right. And so with age, that happens, but also being a woman. So sometimes you need to go to the bank, or even I was telling you about the grocery store. I'm pretty much carnivore. So I go and look at the meat section, and you have to. So if I'm going to spend $35 because I'm going to eat that meat for 3 days, I need to pick out a good piece. A good piece, but that's where the men are. So I'm there trying to figure out which ribs to get or what's happening, and then the men will just barge in there like they own the place. So I guess I'm just, do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's like they're like, move over, lady, because the men are here looking at their barbecue stuff. I'm like, no, like I need to be here. This is going to be like what I'm going to eat all week. So I need to pick out the best meats and the right meats. So as a woman, not so much age, when you're younger, you're not taken as seriously, but also as a woman, sometimes you're not. And
especially when you look young.
and when you look young and you're a woman, and like make sure to stand up for yourself and use your voice, and like Stephanie said, in a graceful way, right? But don't stand down to men in your life, and don't be discouraged. I had a situation where I had presented my no, I read part of a novel that I was writing, and the guy that was there, I won't say. Okay, basically, it was a publisher from Alberta, and I said I had gone up to him after because he was listening to people, and I was
Oh.
like, you know the story? I was like,
No, I know who you're talking
oh,
about.
I won't say. And I was like, what did you think of? He's like, how about this? This is what he said to me. Okay, you guys. He said, how about this? You send me the manuscript and I'll reject it, and then you'll know what this industry's like. And he like kind of winked at me or something. And
Oh no.
okay,
No.
and that is not even the only, that was the one that really stuck with me. But even when I'd gone to these conferences and stuff and men standing around, and yes, I'm short, but that literally talking
We are short. We're short women.
talking over me, don't let that discourage you. Don't go home and cry. That did the opposite. That made me so angry that I figured out every ounce of publishing. I published my novel, and I even set myself up as a publisher. I set myself up as a publisher. I was so mad at this man. And then I published my book, and it's in chapters because you can't be in chapters without a publisher. You can't be an indie author just hanging out on chapters. Well, maybe your local chapters, but not like across
Exactly.
online. So I'm just saying, like, that motivated me.
No, that makes me so angry though.
It made me, and that was so embarrassing.
Yeah, it's,
That belittling attitude, like that kind of wink at the end, and like, ha ha ha, I'm not going to take you seriously.
you silly woman.
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh, I hate that.
And how much work I put into that novel. It's a really good one. It's going to be epic. That's my Moonlight Shadow. I'll post that. I will publish that later, but
People, I think, get shocked when they cross me because I get quite vocal.
and you've been in the male industry world of like
Reporters.
reporting, and I know you did like a difficult one. It was homelessness and crime.
Yes, my beat was homelessness and crime. It was funny because I did work with a lot of officers, and it was interesting because I had some people, actually, a man thought I was really young again, and he started putting me down and calling me snowflake and, Gen whatever.
Oh,
What was it? What
wow.
was that, the newest Gen Z?
Was it
or
Gen Z?
Gen Z. So he was like, you guys are snowflakes and you Gen Zs. And I was like, well,
Wow.
actually, I'm not a Gen Z. I actually have 4 kids. And he was stunned. I left him speechless, actually.
Good.
But like I said, you can defend yourself, but in like a beautiful, graceful way that there's actually no liability. I don't know how to explain it. There's no liability because you know what? You are being not only the better person, but you're doing it with grace. Like, I feel like you don't have to necessarily insult the person.
No, but it's the confidence that you need. Like as a woman, you need to have that confidence.
Yeah, that, you know what? I can put people in my place in a graceful, respectful way.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And sometimes people need to know that. I've had men come over to me and poke me on the side, and I look at them and I was like, do you want to get slapped? And they're like, kind of laughing nervously. And I'm like, you can defend yourself gracefully. Like, I've had men also like road rage. So, oh my goodness, I've had so many instances, and it's so funny because my husband, he's like 6'2". He's built. I don't know how to explain his build. He's not scrawny, but he's not husky. He's just like, I don't know, a fridge. I don't know how to describe his build.
Yeah. Sturdy.
He is
whatever.
sturdy. Yeah, he's not husky. He's not scrawny. He's sturdy. I don't know,
He's
but
strong.
yeah, he's a strong guy. But like when it comes to road rage, he's just like he kind of like sinks down in his seat. Like he's just like he's actually the first one, even if it's not his fault. He's like, I'm sorry, okay, just to end the conflict.
Maybe it's like an anxiety for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I am the one that kind of gets him in trouble because someone will cut him off and honk and swear, and I'll honk at them back because I will go across him to honk, and he's like, no, what are you doing? I was like,
I feel like that's better than the other way around. If your husband was full of road rage.
yeah, no. And then the guy comes out because he thinks it's my husband. Anyways, but no, there's been times I notice, I don't know, if you're a woman and you encounter road rage from a man, best thing to do is pull out the phone. They back off.
Okay. Oh, you mentioned, so I remember you mentioned once that there were, I don't know, it was like teenage boys, but some bad bullying was going on. You pulled out your phone pretending to record, and then they
backed off completely. They
backed
They
off.
started walking towards the window cussing, and then I pulled out my phone and like this, and they completely.
I like that. Sometimes we need these little things to help us because physically we're not as strong. So maybe someone would back off if you're like, I don't know, saying you're recording live. But
Well, exactly. And I think people know nowadays if they get caught, I can easily grab the footage, give it to the police, and they can get in trouble for it. Like,
1, 2, 3 꽤나 머뭇거렸었지 Take your time 나도 거기만 했었지
one who is going through a different stage of life, like having lost your financial support, having lost, it feels like having lost your family, even if your kids fly the nest or whatever they, you know what I mean, leave the nest. And I think what normally would happen, then you and your husband have time to go on a cruise and spend that time together. But if that doesn't happen and you just find yourself alone, it's like, first of all, I definitely recommend like reaching out in community. And you know who's great for community? Other women, right? And not just like one friend, but like reaching out to, even if you're writing letters or emails, like reaching out to your friends and sending a Snapchat here and there and creating content. Honestly, like that is a community. What I was missing was the community. I spent a lot of time at home with my daughter. I was a stay-at-home mom, and then, I mean, I worked casually, so that was a shock. If you were a stay-at-home mom your whole life, and then suddenly find yourself divorced, and then your child's all grown up, and you don't get child support, and you're just out there trying to get a job when you don't have experience, it's like it's hard. But I'm telling you, you can do it. Like you're stronger than you think. I think I had so many fears of just not being able to do it and not being strong enough to handle life because I didn't have to handle so much of it when I was under the protection of like someone else paying the bills. But what I realized was I did a lot of work and I know how to work and I know how to be strong because when you're a mom, you have to be strong. And Stephanie's situation too, she's been doing a lot. I think I was way more of a mess as a mom and I just had one kid. When I mean you have more support from your husband, but like I can't imagine going to school and then having to take care of four kids. But you do, and you post these beautiful pictures of you and your kids all dressed up for church on Sundays, and just like it's so encouraging. I mean, we want to encourage you, and you can be an encouragement to other women, and like have that community of women.
growing up, I was such a tomboy,
Oh,
and I hung out with all these guys. And then I got married, and then, when you get married, your guy friends disappear.
your
So do your
community change.
girlfriends.
Yeah, it happens. Your community changes.
Exactly. And then I was like, found myself like a stay-at-home mom for at least 6 years straight. And I felt so lonely because I was very
Yes.
extroverted. And I was like, oh wow, like I don't know. I had to kind of like, it was interesting because when you're a mom, I think you sacrifice so much, you forget. You do forget about yourself. You kind of lose your identity. And when your kids get older and kind of leave the nest, you kind of start to get your identity back. But what I didn't realize is I could still have an identity and be a mom.
That's important because you don't want to suddenly be like 45 or whatever and be like, what happened? Like, I didn't nurture any of the friendships or I didn't nurture any of the like talents.
The connections, yeah. And especially if you find yourself alone, you know. It you can still, of course, you wouldn't put that above your family, but you can still have a healthy life. It's all about balance. It's a
Yeah.
balancing act. It's healthy too for your kids to see that mom has an identity because you
Yes.
know you don't want to your kids growing up and treating themselves the way you've neglected yourself.
Yes, like neglecting yourself.
때론 그리움이 우릴 서러워졌겠지만 사랑한 그것만큼만 keep it up keep 어떤 말로
Changed, like I wasn't taking care of myself as much as I was like just throwing myself into the mom thing. But I was writing. I think I did a couple things right, which was I still kind of I worked casual, so I still had some work experience. And I also had some credit because I had my own phone bill and one credit card. And these things matter after you get divorced. But anyway, that's a whole other topic, and you want to kind of keep in mind to make sure that you have some means of taking care of yourself. you don't need to turn into a man and become a man to do that. You can still have
We
kids.
have our own strengths.
We have our own strengths. We are actually really strong. So like you can have a family and have kids. You don't have to give that up. Your age doesn't define that, and being a woman doesn't define like how far you can go in life. And I'm hoping that we can do another one of these episodes in a few years and just talk about how far we've come. And
Maybe look back at this episode.
there's so much life left
There's
to
still
do.
hope. That's what
There's
I
always
think. That even though times are hard, there's always hope. And you just have to, I think it's become a norm in society to focus on the negative, and I think we're forgetting that there's positive, and that's where you draw your hope. That's where you draw your strength.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons we wanted to call our show Positively Literary, is because, first of all, we're authors and we love books and we love writing, but we're like, let's keep it positive. It's so easy. It's such a default to fall into like the negatives and what's happening with politics and everything, So keeping it positive is something that you choose to do. And I think we wanted to have a positive episode on being a woman and just taking on the world by storm and knowing that you can do it and we're doing it and you can do it.
Yeah, honestly, if a dyslexic person can be an author, so can you.
Yeah. And if she can go to school full time, so can you. You can make
With
it
4
work.
kids.
And
It's hard.
and if I can somehow month by month survive in this economy with like currently not having a job, but I'm on it. I'm like selling on Facebook Marketplace. I'm following my dreams. I'm looking for work. I'm doing everything I can.
Honestly, that's why like buy us a coffee.
Oh yes.
It really means a lot.
And
I know it's just like $1, but like it's a good deed, and you never know of the little hidden blessing it is in that person's life. Even $1.
yeah, even $1. And that's why I signed up for this one. There's a lot of other ones, whatever, but this one, it's like it could be any amount, like even $1. Yeah, I think people don't realize I put a lot of work, unpaid work, into the editing. We put a lot of time into filming the episodes, and we're so fortunate to have like the producer at Rogers TV to have taken on our program, but we don't get paid for that. And I think when people see it on Rogers TV, they're like, oh, it's a paid show. No, 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 it's not a paid show.
It's volunteer.
It's volunteer. We're also not allowed to ask for donations or anything on Rogers TV, but on our YouTube channel, that's why we set up Buy Me a Coffee. And even when I'm flipping through TikTok and some of my favorite creators are like, by the way, if you like my content, you can buy me a coffee. I'm like, that's so cool. Buy her the tea, buy me the coffee.
It is appreciated.
And thank you so much for joining us. If you've watched all the way till here, we hope this has encouraged you and that we're building a community. That's part of why we love having a show. We want to build a community, women and men, right? Like we're all struggling with the economy. We're all wanting to follow our hopes and dreams, right?
You can do it.
You can do it. If we can do it, trust me. If we can do it, you can do it. You can do this life. You can succeed in this life. We love you guys, and thanks for joining us. Have a positively awesome day.
때론 그리움이 우릴 서로 적겠지만 사랑한 그것만큼만 keep it up, keep 어떤